Hello, 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 and welcome to Indie Comic Stream number 23 here at Comics and Variety. I am Doc Hogg with my ever-exciting co-host, the great Jeremy Lott.
How?
All righty, let's see here. Couple things that we should get out of the way first. Tonight we will be... sorry, did that stop sharing? Yes, I stopped sharing. Okay. Well, I said I was going to be more nimble, but, you know.
Maybe there's a trade-off between nimble and quick.
Yeah, we're going to be reviewing After Realm Part 2. We will also be reviewing Jon Malin's Graveyard Shift. In a minute, we're going to have Hybrids, the Son of God, Volume 1 Trash Day by, who's our guest here? Luke Stone.
We'll be interviewing about this. Yep.
Here's the cover of, or one. I think this is the variant cover, but he'll be on in just a few minutes to talk about that. Let's see. So what else? Oh, we have some very, 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 very big news. Very big news was released today.
We're adding some entertainment value for people.
Is that some? Is that on? Okay, that's on the screen. Let me make this big.
I can see what I think is Kamala Harris.
All righty, here we go. Very exciting news today. Do you like that?
Not particularly.
Well, maybe you'll like this better. Let's see. Where is... I brought that stupid thing up. Darn it. All right, here we go. How about this?
I think that she is the most important vice presidential nominee since Geraldine Ferraro. There, I said it.
Yeah, well, I'll just say this. She could actually be quite important because, she might actually be running for re-election as president in 2024. And I will just leave that there. All righty. Couple of quick things here. First, my comic book Tilt. Wait, that's not right. What had happened there? Why is this going to C1.2? All right. Well, let's just start with this. My comic book Tilt is still in demand. You can...
So demand it.
Yeah, you can demand it. However, there are very few copies left, so get it while you can. I'll be providing a link in the description below a little later. Also, Tilt number Part 2, I'll provide a link to that as well. The sign-up page is now live, and if you sign up now, you will get a free Tilt magnet with your purchase. I haven't decided yet exactly what image is going to be on that magnet, but it will be awesome. And just real quick back here, here is the... here is the cover of Tilt 2. And I believe Jeremy has some news as well. Is that correct? Do you want to start here with Movie Men, or do you want to go over to the other cover?
We can do that. So I don't know the exact date, but someday this month I'll be launching an Indiegogo. And it's going to be not just one comic, but two comics. So it'll be Movie Men 2, which is Movie Men meets Sporkman. And it will also be Tarot Store number 1.
Tarot Store number 1. Okay. The P is silent.
Yes.
All righty. Tell us a little bit about Tarot Store.
I don't. The pictures aren't up here. Do you have? Are they up on yours?
You only sent me 3.
Yeah, but I don't see anything here.
Well, gosh darn it. Why is it Should be. I'm scrolling through these.
I'm just seeing tilt number 2. That's what I see, and it's a nice cover.
No, I get you. I get you.
This should have been the variant cover.
No, I don't know why the. I was trying to get more organized today, and I don't know why this is not working.
That's the problem. You get more organized, and
all right, let's try this. All righty, now can you see the cover?
Yes.
All right,
there it is.
Here.
Okay, so Movie Man. I'm getting an echo on mine. Are you getting an echo on yours?
No.
I'm hearing an echo. Echo.
No echo.
Okay. All right. It's weird. I don't think I have it playing anywhere. No. You don't have it playing on yours?
I have no echo. I'm not hearing it. I am, however, not using my headset. So
that's what's happening. You're not using your headset.
All right. Well, let me. You think that may be the problem? Let me get my headset out here. But you continue, sir.
Okay. So this is Movie Men number 2. Movie Men meets Sporkman. It's the continuation of something that accidentally began last time, because I ended on what I didn't think was a cliffhanger, but a lot of people did, and so I said, well, darn it, I got to write another comic, and so I did. And we're going to be launching it because Sporkman goes to Japan. We'll be fulfilling pretty soon here, and so we'll be launching this to coincide with that. And Doc will be back in a second, I think. We're still live. Okay. I wonder if I should tell a story. Do I have any good stories? I think I'll wait till Doc gets back. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird to just talk out into the void like this. There he is.
About that.
Okay.
Let me bring that back for just a second here. And there we go. All righty. So you were discussing before I
Yeah, so Movie Man number 1, there's a movie called Haywire that ends on a moment of action that it's very obvious to me and to many people that watched it that this was not like setting up a sequel. It was just kind of the idea that like the adventure continues, right? I did that at the end of Movie Men, and a lot of people then said, how are you going to resolve that cliffhanger? And I said, what cliffhanger?
Whoops.
Yeah, and enough people said that I just realized, well, gotta write another comic book. So Wicked is my publisher, and Sporkman is also published through Wicked. And I was talking to the Sport guys, and I said, would you be open to a crossover? And they said, yes, we would. So, the Sporkman is in Movie Men, and there may be I've given permission so that at some point in the future, Movie Men will be in some sort of a Sporkman story.
Gotcha. Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
All righty. And this is you want to just talk about this real quick?
Yeah. So I had a hard time blocking this story out because I was so this is all based in downtown Bellingham, Washington. Okay, and it says the Bellingham Gerald building. It's the Herald building, but obviously we satirize things in Movie Men. I was trying to figure out how everything was going to work, and finally I just brought my wife and daughter with me, and I said, let's walk around downtown Bellingham, and I think some of this will come into view. And I asked my wife if she'd snap a bunch of pictures, and she did. And then I kind of figured out how it should be laid out, how all the action would go, and got her to get the pictures. And then I sent those over to Doug Curtis, and then he incorporated those pictures into his artwork. So this is cool. My wife looking up at the Bellingham Herald building, and then Doug turning that photo into a drawing.
Very nice. Alrighty, and then the other one is Pterosaur.
Yes. So this is a comic I've been working on for quite a while. Daniel Cavallo is a great artist from Brazil that did this for me. And Doug Curtis's brother Ross actually did the colors on this as well. And so it's a story about a flying hero who fell flaming out of the skies years ago and is back. and the mystery behind that. And it actually, the reason that I'm doing these together is because you were going to have fulfillment of Sportman Japan at around the same time as Alterna Comics anthology. It came out on a Wednesday, is dropping, and it has an excerpt from Tarot. And I said, well, which one should I go with for a crowdfunder? I couldn't decide, right? And I finally just said, why do I have to decide? That's stupid. Why don't I just do a crowdfunder that has both, and people can order one or the other or both, whatever they want to do. And they're going to be published by Wicked. They'll be sent to your house based on what you order. I don't know. It just seemed like a win-win, so that's what I decided to go and do.
Very good. Now, does Pterosaur have any powers other than the ability to fly?
He's a normal human being.
Okay. All right. So he has a special flight suit sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, one of my very favorite movies of all time is Condor Man. And there are elements of that in this, and there's also elements of Spider-Man, and you'll see a bunch of different things in this story.
Okay. Is it sort of an Icarus story or not really?
There's definitely some aspects to that I'm including in this. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, let's bring in our guest then. This is Luke Stone, who is doing a hybrids. His comic is Hybrids. Luke, you just recently tell us just a little bit about this. You just recently decided that you are Comicsgate.
Yeah.
And just tell us a little bit about that. I mean, why did you decide to adopt that label for yourself?
Sure. Well, first off, let me just say thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely.
Great to get to kind of put faces to the Twitter handles. You know what I mean? It's kind of nice. So, and it's a great opportunity for be able to kind of get in front of the CG audience, because I just came out, so to speak, on Sunday. And to be honest with you, Doc, I kind of always have been a little Comicsgate adjacent. So I've been doing comics for a long time. I've loved comics since I was a kid. Have been doing comics for a while. Have done some things that have been published, but nothing that I want to talk about. Until about 2014, 2015, I really started to self-publish some of my own stuff. And about that time was when the Comicsgate movement was really starting to pick up some steam too. And so I kind of always really kind of identified with that. And I remember back in 2018, I was running this small company called Tenacious Comics. And people went nuts in 2016. People went nuts in 2016. Everyone just lost their freaking minds. And so when Trump got elected, some other things happened. And I don't know if it was, I think I blame it on Harambe getting killed. Okay. So I think that's really the downfall of our society began with Harambe. So I say that jokingly, but it's kind of around that time when things really got crazy. But I had to take a couple of years out because I'm actually my full-time job as I'm a pastor, and I was kind of really working with this church at the time, and I had to do a lot with that, and so I needed to step away from that. And when I kind of got back in, I'm a libertarian by kind of my affiliation, and so I try to stay neutral with a lot of things. But kind of with most stuff in your life, you kind of get in these cycles of working. Especially when you're making comics, you really focus on producing stuff, and you just wind up making these partnerships and these connections. And eventually, you look up and you look around, and you realize that you align with a lot of people. And it turned out that a lot of those people that I aligned with were Comicsgate or Comicsgate adjacent. Mm-hmm. And so I understood not what the mainstream media tries to, the first 3 pages of Google, what it says Comicsgate is. I know what it is. It really stems on, not having kind of that political agenda in your books, hiring based off of merit, creating new and diverse characters, being true to the medium, and respecting the fans, respecting the readers. And so that's kind of always been my kind of tenets of making comics. And so it got to the point to where I just didn't want to deny who I was anymore and kind of what I stood for. And at the same time, I wanted to let people know, because I had developed a pretty good reputation for myself.
I got to ask you a question.
Sure.
Were you born this way?
I was born this way. That's the thing. Isn't it odd that it feels like, those conversations, all these conversations, I was like, I'm the same person. I just am now, I'm no different than I was yesterday.
And next, show us your poker face. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy that you've got to be like that right now. But I was just, it was just one of those things where I just wanted to be true to, to what I built a really good reputation for myself in the kind of in the middle ground as being kind of all the things of the people in Comicsgate that I have met are. And I was like, I'm not going to deny it anymore. I'm Comicsgate. It's time to come out and say, hey, this is what I believe in. I stand with these people, and this is why. Recently, I had a conversation with a dad at a comic shop where I was doing a signing, and he said, I can't buy my favorite comic book from the big two anymore because the last time I bought it, I opened up on the second page. There's something happening on the page that I don't want my little kid to see. And I'm like, dude, I totally get it.
The comic was the Savage Dragon.
It might have been another one. I won't I won't throw that particular comic under the bus, but I will say it's something I wouldn't want my kids to open up and look at either. And it's like they're pushing this political agenda, sexual agenda, all these other kind of things. And I just, I stand against that. But I'm for a whole lot more than what I'm against. And so, I decided to make that statement. I knew that it was going to be it was going to ruffle a few feathers, but at the same time, what I wanted to do was be able to say, look, this is like, I feel like I represent that community and that network better than what people like. Don't listen to what these other people are saying. The first 3 pages of Google, when you Google Comicsgate, that's not what it is. They align with the kind of people that I am, and so that was really kind of the thing that I wound up talking with a friend named Anthony Figueroa, who has been Comicsgate for a little while, and it just became really clear that I didn't want to deny that anymore. So I've kind of always been a little Comicsgate adjacent, but I took the plunge and came out Comicsgate on Sunday. So. It's been a wild couple of days.
Well, we hope you didn't lose too many friends. That often happens, I think, with didn't happen to me because I've been an outspoken on my politics for years, so I don't have nobody, and I think it's the same with Jeremy. I mean, nobody who knows either of us is unaware of where we are politically. So
just Google Jeremy a lot. I mean, come on.
There you go. Or my actual name, David.
I mean, I guess I have. It's a little easier in my case, just because Rush Limbaugh denounced me as a liberal. So that's been useful to muddy the waters, but yeah, that was a fun one. But anyways, I actually don't know if he denounced. There was some denunciation, but for him there wasn't, there wasn't much fire.
Why do I not recall this? What did he denounce?
I don't know.
What did he denounce you as a liberal as?
Well, I've written about Rush in ways that aren't entirely flattering, and so he thinks that I'm a liberal.
Oh, I'm shocked. Here's my shocked face.
So, yeah. But anyways, where were we? Yeah. So, but you couldn't, if you Google my name, you're going to find a very, very long track record of what I've had to say.
Mm-hmm. What I found is that the community, it's really diverse. It's actually probably one of the more diverse groups of people that I've been able to kind of spend time with. And I had connections with some CG people already. And so the transition, in fact, when I'm actually the editor-in-chief of a small company that we just started called Terraform Comics. And when I kind of told those guys, I said, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm going to be making this announcement. And, just what do you guys think about this? And all that kind of stuff. They were all like, big surprise, dude. It's kind of like everyone knew, It's like, I think they were about as surprised about me coming out Comicsgate as some people were when they found out Freddie Mercury was really into dudes. So it's like,
he was actually an equal opportunity offender.
What's that?
He actually swung both ways pretty rapidly.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I guess he did. But but that's kind of with me. I've worked with a few people that are would be considered SJW, and I've had some of the conversations with those guys. I'm like, look, I'm the same guy that you were working with, a few weeks ago, for the last, almost a year. I just represent a group that is being misrepresented by the media, and I just hope that that what you see with me is really what that group is.
Yeah.
And so
don't use Freddie Mercury, use Truman Capote.
There we go. Truman Capote. Yeah.
So let's talk about your comic. What are you what's it about?
Yeah. So back in 20 it's been longer than that.
By the way, I just I like I like the title here, Hybrids, Son of Gods, Trash Day.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm a theatrical person, so what can I say? So basically,
you're going way up and then boom.
Yeah.
In that title.
Yes. So basically what happened was about 10 years ago, I started having a conversation with a pastor friend of mine, and we would like to talk about the weird stuff in the Bible and in kind of the things that most people don't really talk about. And one of the things that kept coming up was this little verse in Genesis chapter 6, where it talks about the sons of God having relations with the daughters of men and having these offspring called Nephilim. And we looked into that, and it turns out that many of the major religions have some reference to this happening. So it's not just in the Christian Bible, but it's in all these other different references. And then there's like this whole book of Enoch that talks about it. And the more we talked about it, more conspiracy theories and like how it connected to aliens and this and that and all that kind of stuff come out. And he was like, well, you should write a comic book. And so that's what I did. And so the real connection in the title, Hybrids, is really that DNA connection, that human angel hybrid DNA for the Nephilim. But the subtitle, The Sons of Gods, really comes from the fact that stories of the Nephilim predate the Greek god stories, like all of Greek mythology, by about 1,500 years. And a lot of people that are way smarter than I am and have read way more books than I have say that they believe that the Greek gods were actually exaggerations of the real life Nephilim. And I said, okay, well, that's pretty cool. All right. So I'm just going to take their word for it on that. It could be wrong, could be right. Who knows? But anyway,
tell us what exactly is Nephilim.
A Nephilim, it's an angel and a human have a baby.
Giants.
Fair enough.
And so there's different.
It's a motif. You see it in the Old Testament a lot.
Yeah.
You saw like David taking on a giant, and like one of his men also taking on a 6-fingered giant. Like that's an echo of the Nephilim story.
Yes, it is. And so we we take some creative license with that. And so we started thinking, well, if the Greek gods were exaggerations and they had different kind of powers and godlike abilities, what if, and that's the thing I always loved about Greek mythology. It was like the first superheroes. It was like our Superman and stuff like that. I just thought it was interesting. And so kind of taking on that, we had the idea, knowing what we know about DNA and stuff like that. It's like, well, what if those Nephilim had babies with other humans and over time, the DNA just watered down. And so people walking around right now could have like a recessive trait or a little bit of that angel DNA in them left. And so that recessive trait, so instead of like where you could get blue eyes or red hair with a recessive trait, what if something happened to wake that up and you could like lift buildings, teleport, control things with your mind, you fly, all that kind of stuff. You start thinking about all those like possibilities. And so we just kind of explore that idea. And basically what happens in this book is that overnight people start developing godlike abilities, but no sooner do they develop these powers, the individuals start to vanish. And we actually join the story on Trash Day through like this main character, like not really a main character, but kind of like this guy Trash Man's eyes. We get introduced to the story. And basically we learn about this group of kind of like, little motley crew of heroes that they're trying to find out who's taking all of these superpowered people, where they're taking them and why they're taking them. So kind of answer all these like 3 questions, the who, the what, and the where. Mm-hmm. And so the whole 5-issue arc was called Trash Day Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, all the way through Part 5. And it really answers that question and really kind of just drops you in to kind of this universe that I'm building. And we finished up the last issue earlier this year, ran a Kickstarter actually for all 5 issues. Well, we're coming now to Indiegogo with the trade paperback. And so it's got all 5 issues plus a backup story that was originally released with that Kickstarter. And then it's got additional exclusive material that has not been published. And so it's kind of like a Marvel's end credit scene. We did like a little 4-page story that does that at the end of the book too. And so then we've got also a lot of different things that goes on, like art. Like I talk about the story and do little like creator insights and stuff like that. So it's a pretty neat thing. We're going to 124 pages. We set our goal at 5,000. If we can hit 8,000, our stretch goal at 8,000, we're actually going to add 12 more pages to it. So we'll make 140 pages. And we've got a pretty cool price point with it. Let me go over here. Got a we start out, it's just for a physical copy, it's $25. So for this book, which is, I think it's fair.
How much is shipping?
Shipping is 10.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got that, but then we also have some extra covers here. So we've got this hollow foil cover, which is going to be pretty cool. And that bumps up the price to 35. And then I don't know if you're familiar with who Kanan White is, but I've been a fan of his work for a long time, and he's actually providing the cover for this. And so hopefully I'll get that sometime this week, and so I can be showing it off. But his exclusive cover, and we're only going to do probably 100, 150 each of these. I haven't really decided exactly the actual number yet, because we don't launch until next Tuesday. But we're thinking of that. But then we also got, and I haven't got all the pictures up yet, but we've got a collector's pack and then an ultimate collector's pack that has different things added into it, so you can just get different levels of it.
Yeah,
but that's going to be the main
Very
cover.
nice. Now, is this because you mentioned earlier about one of your friends who had opened a comic and got to the second page, didn't want his kid to see it. Is your comic, was it made in that vein of, in other words, could I sit down with my 3-year-old and read this to him, or is it a little bit?
I wouldn't suggest it, but you can sit down with your 12 or 13-year-old and read it. So that's kind of the vein. There's a little bit of language in there for some of our bad guys, and there's quite a bit of violence. So
gotcha.
It does have a teen rating, and I try to keep everything at least at that teen rating. But we've had parents that have read the book, that buy the book, and they share it with their kids. But that's up to their discretion. But I suggest it's for teenagers.
Okay. No, hey, my comic book, I suggest more for teenagers. And, on the other hand, Jeremy's comic, at least the first Movie Man, I would have no trouble reading that to my kids, it's perfectly fine.
It's definitely an all ages title. It's there's a little bit of peril and that kind of thing, but like there's, we'll never have any blood, for instance, that kind I'm very conscious of, trying to aim as broadly as I can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Here's some of the art from the new backup story, the kind of end credits. Here's kind of a pinup that came in the original Serafina kind of exclusive Kickstarter story that went in there. And here's some pages from issue 5.
Mm.
Yeah.
So this is one of my favorite pages right here. I just like how that turned out.
Who did your art?
I did.
Okay. Oh, very good.
I'm the writer and artist of this book. So
wow.
There should be like a term for that, like the artist or something.
Artist, yeah. I think some people just use the word creator. But I mean that's such a loose term, and I get that question all the time because it's really fun when I go to like a table signing at something like a book signing at a comic shop, because usually I'm sitting next to writer, and then I'm like writer artist, and so like, who drew your book? I get that question, like, who drew your book? I'm like, I did. And they're like, because I think it's a rare thing to see that, these days. But
that's some really nice art there.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Really, really good.
Yeah, and so the really cool thing about this project is when people get into it, I will also kind of spell out to them, because I started this issue, like I drew the first issue back in 2015, 2016, and it was like actually released in 2016. And then I drew the second issue in 2016. Then I took a year and a half off, and then I published the rest in 2019 and then 2020. And so you can actually see the progress of my growth. So obviously, like, this is some newer pages, so you see like how I developed there. This is issue 4. So you can see where my style started kind of really starting to refine closer to where it ended up at. This is issue 3. You can see again, it's, it's starting to, but as I go down, I'm getting further into like, this would be like issue 2. And
do you feel like going back and making some changes?
I have, and I've thought about doing that. And people have asked me, hey, you're going to go back and fix that? And I said, I'm not, because I would rather spend the energy on writing new material and new content for this storyline. And I think it's nice for the, at least I've heard from all of the people that have supported me so far, that they like looking at the journey, the progressive journey in my art. Mm-hmm. But not only is the progressive journey in my art, but also my writing, because my first script that I ever wrote, that I actually did all of the writing for, was issue 1. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, I had just written prose and had writers take it over, right? And then along with that, I also grew a lot, kind of emotionally, personally, mentally, spiritually, all those kind of things. And so all of kind of those experiences kind of made their way into the book, which just kind of really elevated kind of the entire process. And so I wouldn't want to, I've thought about it, but the long answer that I just gave you is that the short answer is no. I think I'm going to leave it just so that people can watch the progress of my growth along the way.
Okay.
When do you think you'll be launching your campaign?
A week from today. We're going to be launching probably around, I haven't decided the exact time yet. So we're looking at probably a either 9 a.m. or noon, or we had somebody that launched at 9 p.m. and did really well with one of their campaigns, but I don't know that I want to launch that late at night because
I think I'm gonna launch mine at 5 o'clock somewhere.
5 o'clock somewhere. Yeah, so maybe 5 p.m. here. I don't know. It might be in the evening, but that way I have a full day when it ends. But I plan on launching on a Tuesday. It's going to run for 40 days, 42 days technically, and I'm going to end on a Thursday. So I've learned that is kind of our best bet for launching.
Mm-hmm. Well, good.
Yeah.
Whose show are you going to launch it on? Have you got that lined up yet?
I have not. So I'm looking for that, and it's kind of, I had this all planned out, and we've been building this for a minute, and everyone was asking me, why are you doing the Indiegogo? And I'm like, well, I always kind of alternate back and forth. I prefer Indiegogo because of the in-demand stuff. And I'm like, I normally run a cleanup on one or the other. So I'll run an Indiegogo and then run a cleanup on Kickstarter. I'll run a Kickstarter, run a cleanup on Indiegogo. And so I've kind of been back and forth. And I'd been thinking about, doing the whole, like dropping the whole CG bomb on everyone, but wasn't quite sure about it. And then finally I was like, screw it. I'm coming out. And so I'm trying to, some of my supporters that were more left-leaning are not going to buy this book now, but a lot of my middle guys, they're still 100% on board with me. And then it turns out I had about 25% of my supporters were already CG and I had no idea. So when I came over, they're like, oh, welcome. And I'm like, where have you been? I didn't know you were already over here. So really my book's been kind of a CG book since the beginning. It really kind of throws back to those old 90s, like superhero books, team books. That's what I grew up with, really, when I started really grew up with. And I just love comics. So kind of the love for comics and that kind of storytelling goes in there. So I'm right now really trying to find as many ways to promote and share it to the Comicsgate community and fans that I can. And hopefully it's enough. That's enough to get us where we need to go on the.
Yeah, I certainly think Jeremy and I'll give this a little, give you some help on Twitter.
Thank you.
And I usually also promote it on the actual videos that promote comics on the videos I do. So I will hit you up on Twitter to work that out. But it's just pretty simple. So. Alrighty, I will definitely be providing a link to the sign-up page for this in the description below. Anything else, Luke, that you...
What do people get from signing up on the sign-up page?
Oh, yeah, they get access to a secret perk. And basically what it is, so the lowest level collector's kit, collector's pack that you can get is $50. And so we give you that with free US shipping. Plus, you get to choose which cover you want. So you can actually, for $50, get the Kanan White cover, which is the most expensive cover that we have So you can, so I feel like it's pretty good value, but you get a whole bunch of stuff in there. And then I also kind of throw in some, I always throw in a couple little extra goodies for people. Now I've ran a bunch of campaigns and I fulfilled all of them. So I've actually helped people fulfill campaigns that weren't even mine. I helped them out when they were struggling. And so I've got a lot of experience with crowdfunding, some on the Indiegogo, but most of it on Kickstarter. So it's like, now that I'm CG, I'm trying to switch everything over. It's like,
what's the most challenging part of fulfillment for you?
I guess just packaging everything and I've got ADHD, so it's just I don't, so I hired my poor kids. They get wrapped into it. So yeah, fulfillment really hasn't been that big of a problem. I actually enjoy fulfillment. It's fun my favorite thing is when the books show up, and I get to crack them and smell them, and I'm like, oh man, and I can't wait. And then my second favorite part of fulfillment is when people get them in the mail, and then I start seeing them on social media, and people tell me about how much they love the book. So
that is actually, that last part is my favorite part. I love seeing people post the pictures online, and that's just, they're getting them and they're liking them. Yay!
Yeah. It's my favorite.
Well, it's the payoff.
Yeah, it really is.
Like from our point of view, sure, there's the money, but there's the just seeing people actually, interact with your work. That's what this is about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so we've got some cool backer count where we'll start opening things up at different backer counts, and we'll start throwing things into the physical packages, some extras that I've got that I've got thrown aside, some different things planned out. Like I said, our funding goal is 5,000. If we can get to 8,000, we're going to add that 12 more pages. And then I have we're actually I'm working with a game developer. We're developing this into a role-playing game. And so one of the things is, if we can get to 10,000, we're going to give everybody a quick play. We're going to give everybody a copy of the quick play. So, which is really cool. It's already done. And it's getting ready to go to, we're just getting ready to get it all set up for printer. So that's fun too.
Cool.
Yeah.
All righty. Anything else?
No, you guys got anything for me?
Nope. I just want to say best of luck with the campaign. This looks like a really good comic, and
Thank you.
When we get a chance to help you out, we will do so.
I'm much appreciated. Thank you guys so much for having me on to be able to talk to your audience, and really appreciate the warm welcome from the Comicsgate community. So it's been overwhelming, and there have been people that know me very closely that are watching how I've been received, and they're all very impressed. They're like, that's really cool that the community really is there. So,
well, that's good.
Really appreciate it. Yeah.
All righty. Thank you very much, Luke. And like I said, I will provide a link to the sign up page in the description below for this video.
Thank you very much.
All
right.
Have a good one. All righty. Let's move on to a little bit of comic book news here. The first one is a very important return. Of the No-No Square.
Stop! Don't touch me there! This is my No-No Square! Stop! Don't touch me there! This is my No-No Square!
All righty, No-No Square. Yes, 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 yes. It is the basically we do No-No Square when we have some piece of comic book art that is, well, a No-No Square. It's really bad, and here we go. This Wonder Woman 1984 cover. This was an alternate cover, and my first thought was, my God, when did Wonder Woman become a character on Bob's Burgers?
Yeah, I mean, it's the story behind this is it's a collaboration between DC and Rooster Teeth. It's not the main cover; it's an alt cover. They would not have been, very well ordered, anyways. So I can't get that worked up about it, but it's not a particularly good cover.
No, I can't. I get worked up over it in the sense that I find it hilarious. So, alrighty, let's actually move on to the DC layoffs here.
This is something more to get worked up about.
Yeah. Let's bring that up. Let's start with the DC layoffs here. Alrighty. Okay. There have been a lot of news articles out there with DC layoffs reportedly a bloodbath, and basically what's going on here is Disney, which owns DC now, actually I guess
wrong.
Sorry, you're right. Warner Brothers.
No.
God damn it.
AT&T.
Well, yes.
Which owns all Warner Brothers, which owns DC, which owns HBO.
Yes, correct. My bad. They are basically doing a little bit of trimming because they have an awful lot of debt, and they are doing some trimming, and there are going to be some employees in DC that are being laid off. But you're getting a lot of headlines like this, like DC layoffs reportedly a bloodbath, and I don't really. I mean, you pointed out this video by Perch, and if it let's see. Okay, let me bring this up real quick because I have it.
Who's just about the only sensible person in comics these days.
Oh, knock it off.
True.
No.
Just about.
No.
Yeah, there's not many.
No, there's many.
So many lunatics.
No. Alrighty, this is what no, this is Adam Post. So sorry. Did not mean to. Let's get it right here. And I agree with him on this.
Now, this also sucks. People are going to lose their jobs. It's unpleasant. I'm not making light of that, nor am I dismissing it. I'm just saying that people losing their jobs does not equate to the comic industry as a trash fire. Did you see that they did that Wonder Woman cover? A bunch of people on Twitter complained yesterday, and this is AT&T reacting by shuttering DC Comics, which is what a couple people have said. Now, beyond the absolute absurdity of that statement, that any giant corporation would listen to a handful of people on Twitter bitch about a cover and within 24 hours later start firing people in the comics division, wonderful as a fantasy that might be, it's just not reality. So what is going to go on with DC? Because undoubtedly somebody is going to post a comment, I can guarantee it, stating, oh, okay, so nothing is wrong with comics, huh? Oh, okay, so everything is perfect. Just stick your head in the sand, Perch. That's what you're saying. Just stick your head in the sand and don't worry about any of the problems. No, of course not. That's an idiotic.
All right, I think that's enough. I mean, we get the gist there. He's certainly right that this is not, this is not a total catastrophe here, or that it just means that the ship is about to completely sink. It's maybe. But you understand that if you ever work in news, that headlines that say, well, it's just part of the slow decline, don't work as well as headlines, or at least don't draw as much attention as headlines that say the end is nigh. So
sure, but if you look at what's actually been reported, like the actual facts, there haven't been mass layoffs. No, in the comic book division, they had a streaming service that wasn't profitable, that wasn't making money, and they'll be folding that into their HBO Plus or whatever it's called, minus, whatever. They'll be folding some of that into their HBO Plus imprint. They already have, I believe, toy or sculpting stuff, and they're shuttering DC's version of that, but they'll continue to produce toys and that sort of thing. And that does suck for the people that are involved. And like I specifically, like the DC toy and sculpting people have done an amazing job, and I really think that this was a bad call there.
Well, it's more than just the toy and sculpting.
I was going to jump into the next part. Then there has been basically a management change at DC. Mm-hmm. There are quite a few upper level management people that got shown the door. That doesn't mean these positions will be eliminated. Other people will be coming in and taking those jobs. And below that, there weren't, at least what's been announced so far, a lot of layoffs. The layoffs tended to fall in the divisions that they're shuttering. So the DC Comics part of this, the workers there, not the editors, because quite a few lost their jobs, but the worker bees got off pretty light. And okay, I don't have any objection to that. I'm just pointing out that what they did is it's very clear to me that AT&T has said we don't like how DC is being run. We also think that some of this overlap needs to be eliminated, and we need to have other divisions handle it, especially with the toy and sculpting and with the streaming. And when it comes to the higher ups at DC, they've lopped some heads off there, but they didn't then go and say, do a huge round of layoffs below them. Now they did in a lot of other HBO and other divisions. Quite a few divisions got hit a lot harder than the DC Comics division did. So those are the facts that we know so far.
Okay, let me play for you this. I have it lined up right here on Adam Post's channel where he discusses this, and I think this is what he discusses right here is important.
Okay. So they don't want to give out more names until they get confirmation of names, which is very responsible. Good for them for doing that. Why just throw names around and freak everybody out? But one of the most important names, and I knew this was going to happen, and I'm going to drag this out here. I'm going to pull this out. One of the important names, the most important name here is this for me. Jim Sokolowski, Vice President, Comic Book Specialty and Newsstand Sales. Why are they getting rid of him? Don't they care about sales to comic book stores? No, they really don't. They're not interested whatsoever in selling comic books to comic book stores anymore. Why? When the business was good, there was some money in it, sort of. But that was like 25 years ago, when they had 10,000 comic book stores plus. Now they have less than 2,000, and most of them are failing. The only ones that are successful are who? DCBS, a discount mail order service, and Midtown Comics, another discount mail order service. Now, there are other retailers like Mile High Comics and mycomicshop.com that they're successful. They mostly sell back issues, and they make money selling back issues. That's not relevant to DC Comics. They're producing new things. They're not involved in back issues. So why did they just do exclusive distribution deals direct to consumer or direct to distributor for DCBS and Midtown? Because they're direct to consumer operations, because that's the future of physically printed books that they're going to publish. They would much prefer comic book stores didn't exist. That's my view. And
all right, enough of that. But I mean, I think
it's so absurd. If they wanted to write out what no. DC decided that when Diamond shut down the whole industry, they needed alternate distribution that was capable of withstanding Diamond shutting down. They decided that it was not good for the comic book industry for a monopoly distributor to be able to shut everything down. Like they actually went out on a limb and did that, and there's a lot of people that are still mad at him about it. But it's exactly the right thing for the selling of comic books.
Well, I think, yeah, but I think what he's saying here is that getting rid of that VP is potentially problematic. I mean, do they care? Do they care about selling to comic book stores? And is it just hang on? Can I hang on? Is that another indication of the decline of the industry?
Okay, and my answer is no. They were doing a large management change. They thought that various people weren't doing the jobs they need to be doing. This is one of them.
And so, are they going to replace that position?
Yes.
Oh, really? Okay. I mean, I'm asking.
I mean, we don't know, but the everything how it's going to shake out. But in many cases, these are not positions that are being made redundant. They are. It's a management change.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I mean, time will tell. I trust your word on that. But okay. All right. Why don't we move on to let's see. Let's start with After Realm tonight.
Okay.
Because I actually had more even though I do like Graveyard Shift, I have don't have anywhere near. I mean, I don't really have a lot of. I don't have much bad to say about After Realm. Part 2.
I got the alt cover by Phil Hester.
All right.
And it's a personal taste thing. I really do like the Avon Omen cover as well, but I'm a longtime Phil Hester fan. So.
All right. Okay. Line us up here with the plot.
Okay, so Una Lightfoot has been duped by Loki into the break that she was trapped in this realm with her, and Loki was encased in, I don't know, amber or glass or some sort of substance, and he duped her into helping him break out, and then he lies to her again in this issue, but comes in the guise of someone else, and is trying to break out into the sort of larger realms from this sort of pocket universe that they're trapped in. This is Loki in the form of her very good friend that she's been looking for. It's a very good emotional moment because this is like, I don't know. It's like a person that you've been looking for your whole life, and you see them in front of you, and that's what's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
And Loki is. I love how you can see both the character. You see what's actually there, but that if you scroll back up, what's underlying it, which is that Loki is like, I almost feel bad about this, and he's trying to trick her into to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
What this issue turns on is she figures this out and then finds a way to trick him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So she tricks the trickster, which I didn't expect.
And let's see. Here is the reveal of what have you done? That wasn't the reaction I was expecting. My friend Picky, I told you not to play with that pixie boy. How do you think he got here? Just as defenses and Loki escapes, you can't trust pixies. No, mother, he's my best friend. He's going to help. I almost feel bad about this now.
Yeah.
And here we go.
Yeah. And it's Loki.
Yeah, and she basically he tells her that because she has troll blood, he is able to read her mind.
Which she didn't realize. This also, her parentage is revealed to her in this.
Yes. And she decides to use that to trick him, steals this crystal, which he thinks is, because she's running it through her mind as much as possible, that the crystal is the source of her world's power. And so, he chases after her. I mean, it's just it's a good story. I mean, they lay it out quite well. There was not really anything confusing here. I do like the art. This is epic fantasy type stuff, which is not really a genre that I'm that much into. But it was a good follow on from issue 1, and I read through this the first time, and I went through it, the second time today, and I don't really have much to. I mean, this is the type of thing I could enjoy reading. Again, this is not something I might pick up in a comic book store, but nevertheless, but. Now that I know about it, I might pick it up if something like this would show up at the comic book store, because it's something I could read to my kid. It's entirely age appropriate, and I just it's good. It is really good.
I like it. It's quarterly. It comes out quarterly. It's 56 pages an issue, so it's over 2 full comic books.
Mm-hmm.
and the story is well told. The art is very good.
I mean, this right here, maybe a little pushing it on the age appropriate, but you could explain that away to your kid. But other than that,
I'm not too worried about it. There's
Yeah,
I would explain the mythology behind that to the kid. But yeah, it's just a very well developed story, and I'm happy to be along for this ride, basically.
Yeah, I just like I said, I really enjoyed it, and the plot is well put together. I don't there wasn't any real, I mean, no real problems with the dialogue. You know, there were times where I felt like, you know, I forgot I was actually reading a comic. So which is always enjoyable. So
it's just powerfully told. I'm just, you know, you can learn a lot from this comic.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. All righty. Let's move on to some more non-comic book related news here. First of all, let's go to this one here. Now, there is apparently a hip-hop artist by the name of Suki Hana out there. They call me Suki with the good coochie. I'm not familiar with the terminology. What's coochie mean, Jeremy?
I'm going to pretend that I don't know what that means.
Yeah, okay. All in your throat, out now. All in your throat. Okay, now, Matt Walsh, this came across my Twitter feed today. So let's have a little fun with this. Make sure the volume's all the way up, and here we go.
I feel like being like sexual and shit, like I don't see nothing wrong with that, because baby, I got 3 kids. And I mean, I got these kids from sucking and fucking. At the end of the day, me being a hoe, like these people say, like honestly, I liberate a lot of hoes. You feel me? When I hear Cardi talk about popping some pussy, me and my bitches is with it. Like that liberate us, because it's like, fuck you, self-respect as hoes. Cause how y'all got self-respect? Like, I don't think y'all got self-respect like that. Cause first of all, you supposed to tax these niggas. That's self-respect. You feel me? Like, it make me feel liberated. Like, I love crossing boundaries. Because guess what? Scared money don't make no money. If you're going to be scared to get that money, you're going to be scared to be yourself and say, this who I am, then you ain't going to get that coin like that.
Facts.
Okay. This was Apple helpfully provides a platform for women to promote the joys of being the most powerful corporations on earth.
What is this on? Like, what is this on exactly?
This is Apple Music. This is iMusic.
Okay, but I mean, so what? I mean, is it like a regularly scheduled program, or is it a?
I have no idea. I don't know.
I don't even want to know.
Yeah. I'll just say this. I'm so glad I have a son and not a daughter. Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, I don't even about, I don't know, 3/4 of the way through that, I didn't even understand what the last part was saying. I mean, it's how I'm starting to get a sense. I'm starting to think that all this emphasis on diversity has gone to the point now that in emphasizing differences has gone to the point now that we're reaching a point where different groups in our society can't understand each other. Because we've said it's completely okay for, you know, people to talk in a way, you know, that there doesn't have to be one sort of quote unquote standard English anymore. And, you know, in other words, there's not any one standard English to aspire to anymore. So the last quarter of that, and I'm not criticizing anyone's particular dialect here or whatever you want to call it. I'm just saying that, you know, you're not communicating with me because I don't understand what you know, at least 25% of what she said there. And And when you get to a point where, you start having different languages, that can potentially be very divisive. If you don't believe me, go north to Canada and talk to the French about how they feel that, the rest of Canada doesn't have to learn French. So at any rate, go ahead.
I think you're massively overthinking it, because if you look at the looks on the other people's faces in that video, which I don't recommend turning on again, please. They're also like, what? Yeah, they are. They are. They're like, several of them are like trying to put a good face on it, but they're like, this is some stupid things that are being said here.
Yeah. Oh boy. Wait, what? I hope that you are right and I am wrong, and I'll say this. Okay, let's move on to one other that's also in the vein of I'm so glad that I have a son.
He says to a guy with a daughter.
Sorry. Yeah, well, no, I feel for you. Federal appeals court rules for transgender student in bathroom case. This is a woman who is transitioning to a man. All right. Florida school district was wrong when it forced a transgender high school student to either use the girls' bathroom or a single stall gender neutral bathroom. A Florida federal appeals court ruled. The ruling issued Friday sides with Drew Adams, who sued the St. Johns County School District because he wasn't allowed to use the boys' restroom. It could have a wide-ranging impact, you think, on how schools treat transgender students. Yeah, it's going to have more. It's going to have an impact beyond just transgender students. Though his assigned gender was female at birth, Adams began the transition to become a male before he enrolled in Alan D. Nees High School in Ponte Verde Beach. And I should mention that this is just something the Washington Times grabbed for the Associated Press, because I doubt if the Washington Times would
well, it's an Associated Press story.
Yeah, Associated Press story. The Washington Times is writing this. I doubt they would be using terms like assigned gender. It wasn't your son. No one assigned you that gender. That's the gender you were born as. At any rate, the school district, however, pointed to forms filled out when Adams was in 4th grade that listed him as a girl and said that he couldn't use the boys' bathroom. All right. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals rejected that in a 2-1 decision. What do they say here? The public schools. Now, I must have been reading a different article, because there was something in here about the Supreme Court's recent ruling on Title IX and so forth with regard to this. But at any rate, here is my concern for people who have daughters: is that if or you don't even have to have a daughter. I mean, just for women in general, what is going to prevent a creep, a predator, a perv? And I'm not talking about transgender people here, because from what I understand, there's very little evidence that transgender people actually, are sexual predators. I'm not talking about transgender people. I'm talking about a predator who is going to take advantage of this. That is, the guy who wants to go into the girls' locker room and, and stare, and is going to say, "Oh, I'm transgender. I'm transitioning to a girl. You can't keep me out of that locker room. You can't keep me out of that bathroom." I see that as presenting a lot of problems down the road. And again, that's why I'm very glad I have a son, and I feel for you, Jeremy, for someone who has a daughter.
Well, you're assuming there's going to be public school in the future.
Let's not go there. Let's talk about the actual implications of this.
Okay,
but it may not be public school in the future. That
you're
doesn't mean
you're talking to the author of a recent article titled "We Are All Homeschoolers Now."
Well, I'm not convinced of that.
Okay.
I'm not convinced of that. But
it's empirically true at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment it may be empirically true, but I doubt once like Jessica Yaniv up in Canada. Yeah, someone who wants the waxing salons to touch I'm gonna say his member. I don't care if he wants to call himself Jessica. He's still got the plumbing. So
Lost that case though.
Yeah. At any rate, yeah, I mean, I see this as going to, this is an open door for people who want to take advantage of this law for male predators who want to go in and use the women and use the women's bathrooms or women's locker rooms for nefarious purposes. And it's particularly bad if for under. I mean, it's bad for any women. I think it just goes double for underage women, for minors, for girls. So
okay.
Well, don't join in on the conversation here too much.
Like, no, you're wrong.
Add to it. Okay. All right.
Okay. I'll, how about if we just all the little girls get tasers? I don't know.
I could go for that. Well, Jessica and Eve got that. Yeah, that'll
That's
actually.
That's technically not a firearm. So
Yeah, here in America it might be okay, and in Canada apparently
that's
it's
true.
not.
That'd be illegal. That'd be illegal.
Jessica and Eve actually got into some trouble for that. So, okay, let's move on to our final comic, final bit for tonight, which is Jon Malin's Graveyard. All righty. Tell you about this comic book. This comic book basically kind of it reverses the Dracula story here, and that Dracula, Professor Blood or Vladimir Blood, who is actually a scientist who has come up with a way to revive the dead. He had this theory. He has this theory that there's this life force in blood, and he is kind of the Van Helsing character, who is actually the bad guy in this comic. Initially takes Professor Blood under his wing, helps him develop the way of bringing people back to life, what they call a regen pod. And also the characters here. This is Lily Mayhew, who is also a scientist. Her husband, Mick Mayhew, who initially does not look like this. Yeah, it's basically they become known as Graveyard Shift later on. The story starts here with introducing us to Vladimir Blood and Lily Mayhew, and they are having a love affair, even though she is married to Mick Mayhew. And Lily is basically saying that since he became a monster, he has not actually, there's not much of a human soul left anymore. So a couple of things happen here. First of all, these Van Helsing runs a corporation known as the Atlantis Corporation, and their lab for doing the regeneration is underwater. He brings Vladimir Blood down there, and actually ends up, he has Van Helsing has ulterior motives. He wants to use this regenerative process to create an army of the undead to take over the world. And here you see the scene where Van Helsing turns Blood into a vampire. He's also murdered Mick and Lily Mayhew and is turning them into his undead. But something goes wrong with Mick Mayhew, and his regenerative pod becomes unstable, and there is an explosion, sets Mayhew free, it sets Blood free. Blood goes and rescues Lily, and they all disappear for a while. In the meantime, Van Helsing has become president, and basically Blood decides with Mick and Lily that they're going to fight him. And there is a couple of scenes here. For example, it's clear that Congress has been turned into vampires. This is one of the.
So it's accurate to life.
Yeah. Not far off. So there was a lot I liked about it. I mean, I enjoyed the plot. I enjoyed that you've kind of turned the vampire saga here on its head a little bit. I really liked the art. I thought the art was really, really good. The story was not too hard to follow either. I was a little worried at first because you have kind of a flashback, but he only did one, and then told the story forward from that. Other things I like. He introduces this love triangle between Professor Blood, Mick Mayhew, and Lily Mayhew, and he uses it toward the end of
God, no.
No, I'm gonna come to that. That was something I very much did not like. He uses that toward the end here. Right toward the end, as they're about to go on the attack again. Right before they're about to attack Congress. Somehow Van Helsing gets into their ship's computer, and Mick Mayhew finds out that his wife is having an affair with Vladimir Blood. So he uses the there's something coming in issue 2 with regard to that. So he brings out the love triangle right away, and then at the end of issue 1, it's clear he's going to use it. Also, there's some other force behind Van Helsing, the actual Lord Dracula. You get that at the end here. So there's some sort of power behind the throne. And also, I mean, the art, this was when Mick Mayhew, who had been imprisoned underwater for years, suddenly breaks free. There's a lot of really great splash pages like this. So I really love the art. I like the story idea. Now, some of the things that I did not like. First of all, this is obviously not a comic book for your kid. This was a splash page right when they attacked Congress. I don't really know why this was included. Maybe he's making some social point here. I don't know, but I just kind of like, you could have this girl being blown apart without a fetus blowing out of him. I mean, it just seemed a little gratuitous to me.
It was supposed to, and I don't agree with this choice at all. It was supposed to accentuate the horror aspects of this comic, and it does. It does.
Well,
it absolutely does. The like the dismemberment and that kind of thing. That's part of the horror genre. I don't.
Well, you could dismember her without necessarily,
they're trying to punch it up to 11.
Well,
and I think they did the wrong thing, but I'm saying that was the reason for it.
Well, I think with the dismemberment, without that, you could still punch it up to 9 or 10, and that would have been sufficient.
They got all the way to 11.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you don't want
11 apparently is the fetus popping out part. I did not like this comic. There are some. I'll admit that some of the art is good, and so the coloring is good. Some of the splash pages are good. It felt more like a summary of a story than a story itself. I don't like any of the characters. I don't want to see what happens to them. And I didn't follow on and get into the second or third volumes as a result of it. I don't think this comic did a good job of selling itself to me. Now, obviously, other people disagree. That's fine. But
I disagree. I think there is a story here. I mean, you get the story of how they became monsters, and and it's now leading up to a battle. But I mean, I think there was a story here. It's sort of they're telling sort of the origin story in the first one, and letting they're in the middle of fighting Van Helsing, and leading up to things are going to get even more serious. Some of the problems I had a little bit of problem with the art, like. This here, the first time I looked at it, I thought that because this is the first time you get introduced to Mick Mayhew, and I thought this was actually part of something rising out of his back and shoulders right here. I didn't realize this was his arm coming back. Now I realized that the second after I looked at it, but little things like that can kind of knock you out of the story and make you realize you're reading. And then there was let's see. like this, this splash page here again. This was stuff that I really, I thought was, I really like the art here. I do not want to. Okay. Well, for example, why was this like this page here? This one, I don't know. It seems like Van Helsing is going down. I assume this is Van Helsing going down, going into Castle Dracula in the late 19th century, but I don't know what this was doing. I mean, is this going to lead to another backstory at some point? I don't know. There's just this one page in here, and it didn't. I don't know what it's doing here. And then the other was, God, I gotta get off this darn page. Yeah. This right here, I mean, it was when the explosion occurs and the underwater laboratory breaks apart. When you go to the next page, it says, "As the complex flooded, I became free." It just when I was, it confused me a little bit. I actually was for a bit. I thought that it was it was Vladimir Blood's pod that had malfunctioned, and you go back. Oh no, okay, it was the monster McMahon. It was his that malfunctioned, and at least I think so, and it was not Vladimir Blues, but it was a little confusing. I would have preferred that you just show which pod causes the explosion and then show the water coming through and making Vladimir Blood loose instead of kind of telling us here. I understand that you're probably trying to save some cut down on pages here. There's nothing necessarily wrong with just telling us that as it flooded as the laboratory, the complex flooded, you became free. That's fine. But I would have preferred that they had showed us. So those are some of my problems with it. But I did like this. I do have issue 2. I actually ordered it when it was on issue 2. I haven't read that yet. But I am looking forward to it. I mean, I thought, like I said, I like the art. I like the story here. I just, that part about knocking it up to 11 and,
I don't care what happens to any of these characters. There's no part, there wasn't any part, there wasn't anything about these characters that connected with me in any meaningful way throughout the entire story. So I don't care what happens next. That's my take, but other people differ.
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay. I read, let's look at some. I read it. I thought it was good. It's like Monsters Meet the X-Men. Yeah, I have to admit, I have to admit, you kind of have a point there on it is a little hard to identify with the characters. Although I think, there's enough wiggle room in their characters that you could identify with them maybe a little later.
Which of these characters are you really, really looking forward to see what happens in issue 2?
Well, I'm certainly very interested in what becomes of the love triangle.
Okay.
I'm certainly very interested in that. I'm interested in what is the power behind the throne with Van Helsing, and he's going to need to dial it up a little bit. But the fight between Professor Blood and Van Helsing is potentially interesting as well, but he needs to make that conflict a little more intense. Okay, I read it. I thought it was good. I liked it a lot, but didn't understand that bit with the collateral killing of reporters, including the bit with the pregnant lady. Hans, are we the baddies? Okay, fair enough. That scene was messed up. Yes, indeed it was. Malin said on a stream the other night that he was high, I believe. Oh, I believe it. When the heroes kill a bunch of bystanders, it doesn't feel right. Malin, stop getting okay. Yeah. All righty. Well, I think we can. Any last comments, Jeremy? Because I think we can pretty much wrap it up there.
I think that whether or not it's worth buying the second issue, I do think that we've touched on an important issue, which is that I don't think they did enough to make us care about these characters. We can argue that, I don't think they did anything. You think they did a little bit. That's fine.
No,
But I think they should. I think because we're even having to have that argument, that that I think that it's obvious they should have done more to make us care about these characters.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Okay. Thank you, everyone who stopped on by. Thank you to our guest, Luke Strong. And Jeremy, as always, it has been a lot of fun.
Live long and prosper.
All right.